Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Buddhale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shangyavadi Maskantya Reshatarine. So we are reading today from Canto 2, Chapter 9, which is entitled Answers by Citing the Lord's Version, and verse number 17, which is on the board. Adyaryani Ashanam Ashtitam Param Adyardani Ashanam Ashtitam Param Vritam Chatu Sodasha Pancha Shakti Bihi Vritam Chatu Sodasha Pancha Shakti Bihi Yuktam Bhagai Svair Itaratra Chadruvai Yuktam Bhagai Svair Itaratra Chadruvai Svaeva Damanam Ramananam Ishwaram Svaeva Damanam Ramananam Ishwaram Adharyani Nashanam Astitam Param Vritam Chatu Sodasha Pancha Shaktivihi Yuktam Bhagai Svair Itaratra Chadruvai Svaeva Damanam Ramamananam Ishwaram Adyaryani Nashanam Astitam Param Vritam Chatu Sodasha Pancha Shaktibihi Yuktam Bhagai Svair Itaratra Chadruvai Svaeva Damanam Ramananam Ishwaram Adyaryani Nashanam Ashtitam Param Vritam Chatu Sodasha Pancha Shaktibihi Yuktam Bhagai Svair Itaratra Chadruvai Svaeva Damanam Ramamananam Ishwaram. Anybody else? Adyardani Ashanam Ashtitam Param Vritam Chatu Sodasha Pancha Shaktibihi Yuktam Bhagai Svair Itaratra Chadruvai Svaeva Damanam Brahmamananam Ishwaram Adyaryani Asanam Ashtitam Param Vritam Chatu Sodasha Pancha Shaktibihi Yuktam Bhagai Svair Itaratra Chadruvai Svaeva Damanam Brahmamananam Ishwaram Adyaryani Nashanam Astitam Param Vritam Chatu Sodasha Pancha Shaktibihi Yuktam Bhagai Svair Itaratra Chadruvai Tveva Dhamanam Dhamanam Ishvara. Could you close the door over there? Thank you so much. Word by word translation. Adyardhaniya, greatly worshipable. Asanam, throne. Astitam, sitting on it. Param, the supreme. Vritam, surrounded by. Chatuhu, four, namely Prakriti, Purusha, Mahat and ego. Sodasha, the 16. Pancha, the 5. Shakti Bihi, by the energies. Yuktam, empowered with. Bhagai, his opulences. Svai, personal. Itaratra, other minor prowesses. Cha, also. Adruvai, temporary. Sve, own. Eva, certainly. Daman, abode. Ramanam, Ramamanam, enjoying. Ishwaram, the Supreme Lord. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya. The Lord was seated on his throne and were surrounded by different energies like the 4, the 16, the 5, and the 6 natural opulences, along with other insignificant energies of the temporary character. But he was the factual Supreme Lord, enjoying his own abode. Please repeat. The Lord was seated on his throne and was surrounded by different energies, like the 4, the 16, the 5, and the 6 natural opulences, along with other insignificant energies of the temporary character. But he was the factual Supreme Lord, enjoying his own abode. Purport. The Lord is naturally endowed with his 6 opulences. Specifically, he's the richest, he's the most powerful, he's the most famous, he's the most beautiful, he's the greatest in knowledge, and he's the greatest renouncer as well. And for his material creative energies, he's served by the 4, namely the principles of Prakriti, Purusha, Mahatattva, and ego. He is also served by the 16, namely the 5 elements, earth, water, air, fire, and sky, and the 5 perceptive sense organs, the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. The 5 working sense organs, the hand, the leg, the stomach, the evacuation outlet, and the genitals, and the mind. The 5 includes the sense objects, namely form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. All these 25 items serve the Lord in the material creation, and all of them are personally present to serve the Lord. The insignificant opulences, numbering 8, the Astasiddhis, attained by the yogis for temporary overlordship, are also under his control. But he is naturally full with all such powers without any effort, and therefore he is the Supreme Lord. The living being, by severe penance and performance of bodily exercises, can temporarily attain some wonderful power, but that does not make him the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, by his own potency, is unlimitedly more powerful than any yogi. He is unlimitedly more learned than any jnani. He is unlimitedly richer than any wealthy person. He is unlimitedly more beautiful than any beautiful living being. And he is unlimitedly more charitable than any philanthropist. He is above all. No one is equal to or greater than him, nor can anyone reach his level of perfection in any of the above powers by any amount of penance or yogic demonstrations. The yogis are dependent on his mercy. Out of his immensely charitable disposition, he can award some temporary powers to the yogis because of the yogis hankering after them. But to his unalloyed devotees, who do not want anything from the Lord, save and accept his transcendental service, the Lord is so pleased that he gives himself in exchange for unalloyed service. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurulmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhueva Cha Paritanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The verse again. The Lord was seated on his throne and was surrounded by different energies like the 4, the 16, the 5 and the 6 natural opulences, along with other insignificant energies of the temporary character. But he was the factual Supreme Lord enjoying his own abode. So we are reciting every day a sloka from Srimad Bhagavatam. He has actually the purpose to bring us much closer to Krishna and that we can learn about the absolute truth, that there is one God who is most powerful. And we hear in this purport how Prabhupada is actually glorifying the Lord in so many ways. So in the chapter before, chapter 8, Parikshit Maharaj was bringing forward a number of questions to Sukadev Goswami, who is the speaker of the Bhagavatam. And in chapter 9 here, Sukadev Goswami started to answer the questions Parikshit has actually asked him in this previous chapter. If you look at chapter 9 has different sections, as most of the chapters, of course. And it starts with text 1 to 3, where Sukadev Goswami speaks about the relationship between the eternal soul and the material body. It's all about explaining how are we getting the material body. And it's clear that it's through the desires. So when we leave our body in this world, the last thoughts we have, the last thinking, the last desires, this is the way the Lord gives us the next body. And it can be the Lord of a tiger, the Lord, of course, of a human being. It can be the Lord of a demigod. It can be the Lord of a devotee. And for our visitor, you see up here this presentation of the changing body, how somebody takes birth in a child, he become actually an elder child, a youth, a man. Finally, it declines, and when the old man leaves the body, you can see that he takes birth again in another child form. That's the best solution, except, of course, to go into the spiritual world. We are here in the material world where there are billions of universes and billions of living entities, like ourselves, like the cows, the peacocks, the swans, the trees, the flowers, whatever. Just in Vrindaban there are billions, and in the whole universe, in all these universes, And our own goal is to actually serve the Lord, as we are eternally part and parcel of Krishna, of God. And when we serve the Lord, then we get purified, so that at the end of life we can think about God and the spiritual world. We can actually step out of this cycle of birth and death. Otherwise we will take birth again. And we never know what is the next birth. Based on our desires, as I said before, it can be a tiger, it can be a cat, it can be a human being or a demigod, And Srila Prabhupada in his purports explains also in these first 3 slokas that we are in a sort of dream world. This world is temporary, and we are in a sort of dream because we think we are, for myself, the temple president, or from Switzerland, or white, or whatever, or Indian, or American, or a teacher, or a worker on the construction site, or whatever. So we are actually thinking that we are this body, and we are not understanding and realizing that actually we are the spiritual soul which goes always around in whatever form we take in our next life. But Srila Prabhupada says in this purport, the dream is finished when we actually leave the body, because then all this falls apart, and we are getting back to the real situation. And the soul later, based on desires, takes birth in another body, as said before, as a demigod or a human being, or hopefully can go back to Godhead. And Srila Prabhupada, of course, always explains how we can get out of this cycle of birth and death, that we fully surrender, and we understand that our duty is to serve the Lord in this life. Whatever we do, we can offer. We don't have to divide between our spiritual practice when we come to the temple and when we chant the holy name and the duties we may have out there by earning some livelihood or taking care of the family and so on. Everything can be offered. Everything is one. All our activities can be actually offered to the Lord. So then in the second section of this chapter, the Lord reveals Viconta to Brahma. And it's from verse 4 to 18. So we are in sloka 17. So this is part of this part where the Lord reveals Viconta to Brahma. And he speaks, Sukadev of course speaks, but it explains about all these different energies which are around the Lord in Viconta, and they serve him. And it starts, of course, there that Lord Brahma was born out of the navel on the lotus, which came out of the label of the Lord Vishnu. And he did not know where he was and what to do. When he walked down, he could see nobody. He was completely alone. So when he went back to the lotus flower and sat down, he heard this word tapa, and he understood that he had to do tapasya. So he was meditating, it said, for 1,000 celestial years, with such a long time. And finally the Lord had been satisfied with his penance, and he manifested Viconta, which we hear here from Sukadev Goswami. And he also explained to him how the Viconta vases look like. I will get back to that later on. And we heard in 2 or 3 slokas back about all this. And he speaks about the airplanes in Viconta, about the goddess of fortune who is serving always the Lord there and massaging his lotus feet, and all the associates which are actually around the Lord in the spiritual kingdom of Viconta. So then from verse text 19 to 30, the Lord expresses his pleasure to Lord Brahma, and Brahma asks him some questions. And in the last part of this chapter, the Lord actually responds to Brahma. And there we find the Chatusloki, which are the 4 slokas who are the essence, explaining the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this sloka today, we heard that, first of all, it's a factual Supreme Lord. It's not anybody else. It's the Lord in his form in Viconta. And that he's enjoying his abode. Whatever form the Lord takes. And we hear from Srila Prabhupada, as many waves in the ocean, the Lord takes so many forms. He's always enjoying his, of course, presence. He says here in the sloka, enjoying his own abode, you know. And what he says, he's surrounded by all these energies. And we hear from our different senses to the different elements and so on. So we understand that whatever is present in this material world is actually a replica, is existing in the material world, you know. And all these different elements and energies, they're just around the Lord of Viconta and trying to serve him in different ways. They're always ready to serve him, whatever the Lord may desire. It says later on that they even have the chamaras on top of their head and are waiting that they can start fanning the Lord, They are so eager to serve the Lord, So it's clear they are existing in the spiritual world and they are actually coming here. I had this little realization this morning when I was doing puja for Srila Prabhupada, that actually I'm just the instrument as usual and try to serve Srila Prabhupada in the name of the community, but actually I am the instrument for these energies. So if I offer water to the Lord, this is the energy from Viconta, I give them the opportunity to actually worship Srila Prabhupada. And that's the same what we are doing on the altar. So in the purport itself, Srila Prabhupada speaks about the 6 opulences of the Lord, He's the most beautiful, the most powerful, the most knowledgeable, the most famous, and the wealthiest, of all. And, of course, the most knowledgeable, So Srila Prabhupada in the whole purport, he really glorifies the Lord. And he speaks about these insignificant opulences, He mainly speaks about the Astasiddhis. So if the yogis, they really meditate for a long time and they desire to get these biggest powers somebody have in the world, they can get this power to transform themselves in the smallest of the smallest or the biggest of the biggest, or they can just transport them to anywhere on this material platform or even in the universe. They can reach out and grab some dates from Saudi Arabia, even by being in another country or different other things. But Srila Prabhupada explains, and also in the sloka itself, he said these are all insignificant opulences because they are only given by the Lord based on his charitable attitude. But they are nothing against the power these energies have in the spiritual world. And the Lord, of course, as the most powerful, has himself, And these are somehow material opulences, material skills, which have no real influence. Because Srila Prabhupada says at the end of the purport, if somebody is completely unalloyed to the Lord and only wants to serve the Lord, has no desire from himself, the Lord offers himself to them, which is the highest achievement we can actually have. So as we understand that all this speaking about Viconta and the spiritual world is only to create in us this lolyam, this eagerness to go there, so that we create this goal which should be so deep in our heart that we have only this desire, We want to serve the Lord here, but we want finally to go back to Godhead, to serve Him in the spiritual realm. And I wanted to speak a little bit more about Viconta. So in Srimad Bhagavatamrita, there are 2 sections where it is spoken about Viconta. One is Lord Shiva to Narada Muni, and the other one is when actually Gopakumar goes to Viconta himself. So Srimad Bhagavatamrita was spoken by Parikshit Maharaj. So at the end, when Sukadev Goswami had spoken Srimad Bhagavatam, Uttara, the mother of Parikshit, approached him and said, "Please tell me the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam." And Parikshit Maharaj said, "Actually, this is not the moment to speak about something. This is the moment I should meditate and be peaceful. But nevertheless, you have asked me, so I will explain you." And he was reciting Bhagavatamrita for his mother Uttara. And Sanatana Goswami has actually written it down. And of course, by the mercy of the Lord, we have these wonderful books, which we hear about the glories of so many exalted devotees on so many different planets in the spiritual world, which again has the reason to deepen our longing, our loliam for the spiritual world. And the whole thing started that a Brahmana, the Shvashvameta Tirtha, he came near an assembly of sadhus, and Narada Muni was part of them. And he actually built an altar, he put his shila there, he had some bhoga, he started to cook and doing an offering and then actually an arti to the Lord. And Narada Muni was so impressed by him, seeing his devotion and his dedication. And when Narada Muni has seen him, he started to praise him and said, "You are the most exalted devotee I have ever seen. And you must be most dear to the Lord, you know." But the Brahmana replied, "What kind of mercy of the Lord have you seen in me? I'm the most wretched. And what charity am I able to give, you know? What opulence do I have? And if you really look for an exalted devotee, you should go to the south of India. There is a king, you know. He's praised by so many, and he's doing these wonderful activities for the Lord." So Narada Muni was then actually inspired to go around and find the most exalted devotee of the Lord. So he started his journey first on the earth, then he went to the heaven, he went to Shiva Loka. And when he went to Shiva Loka, he was praising Lord Shiva, but Lord Shiva, as all the other devotees said, no, I'm not the most exalted. What can you see even in me, you know? There are so many other exalted devotees. So Lord Shiva spoke to Narada Muni about Viconta. And he explained to him that the Viconta Vasis, they're Sachidananda. They have the same opulence and the same power of the Lord. They even have the same body as the Lord, you know. They are such exalted devotees, you know. But at the same time, Narada Muni remembered him that the Lord is currently in Dwaraka, you know. Do you know that? And when Parvati heard that, she said, you know, she started to actually glorify Rukmini, you know. So Shiva was indirectly sending Narada Muni to Dwaraka to see the Lord himself. But at the end, he took closer Narada Muni and spoke into his ear and said, you know, if you really look for the most excellent devotee, you should go and see Prahlad. Prahlad, he is the most excellent devotee, you know. So Narada Muni followed this instruction, and he went to see Prahlad. Prahlad, of course, did not accept the glories Narada Muni has spoken. So he sent him to the Pandavas. The Pandavas sent him to Uddhava, and finally he ended up with the Vrajbasis, the most excellent devotees, the gopis of Vrindaban. So in this first part, Lord Shiva explained, as said before, Narada Muni, the glories of Viconta. In the second part, Gopakumar goes to Viconta, you know. So he actually got the Gopal mantra. He was chanting the Gopal mantra so regularly based on his request of his guru. And based on that, he had the power to go wherever he wanted. So he went to all around the earth, different planets, and so on. But never he really found satisfaction, and he came finally back to the earth, where to Mathura, where he was assisting or participating in some lectures. And finally he met his guru again. And his guru embraced him and has given him so many blessings and mercy that he completely developed his spiritual identity so much more than ever before. And when this happened, suddenly a Viconta airplane arrived with Viconta Vasis, and they invited him to come to Viconta. So he entered this airplane, and they had all bodies like the Lord in Viconta, 4 arms, effulgent, all these decorative elements on their bodies. And they wanted that Gopakumar, he was a simple cowherd man, he was dressed like a Gopa, so that he would actually take the same body. But no, he did not want to do that.
So when he went up with this airplane, which he explains was so wonderful and so exquisite and so effulgent in itself, when he went to see the different planets, they all glorified him and said, "Victory, victory," because they understood somebody is ready to go to Viconta, to the spiritual world. But he did not feel that all this praise was correct for him. So finally, he arrived in Viconta. And in front of the gate, they asked him to wait there because they said, "We need permission of the Lord that you can come in actually to Viconta." So he was a little disturbed because he thought he would directly be able to go and see the Lord in Viconta. But so he was in this little building, sitting there and waiting. They asked him to meditate. But suddenly an airplane came with a Viconta Vasi, and he had the same form that actually Gopakumar was thinking the Lord has in Viconta. So he was paying obeisances and doing his prayers. And the Viconta Vasi actually closed his eyes and his ears and said, "I am a servant of the servants. Don't do that." So he understood, wow, so he must be one of the residents of Viconta, but not the Lord himself. So soon after, a second airplane came, even more effulgent, and even the Viconta Vasi was more effulgent and had additional decorations and so on. And he, Gopakumar, did the same. He was straight doing dandavats, doing his prayers, and the same happened. The Viconta Vasi was closing his ears and his eyes and said, "I am a servant of the servant." Later on, different other came in groups of airplanes in different forms. Some had 3 eyes, some had 8 arms, and so many different forms he have never seen before. So suddenly the Viconta Vasis came back and they invited Gopakumar to go into Viconta. So he passed the first gate, but then there was a second gate. And every time the guard had to go and get permission from the superintendent that Gopakumar could actually enter. And the superintendent was even more effulgent every time, had other decorations and whatever. And Gopakumar always thought, this must be the Lord. So he was again doing dandavats and doing his prayers, and they always tried to stop him because he said, the Lord himself is further down. It's not the Lord himself here. So he finally, the Viconta Vasis explained to him, what are the signs of the Lord that he cannot actually take anybody anymore as the Lord himself. And they also explained to him what kind of prayers he should actually do when he sees the Lord and how the etiquette he should follow, So he went to different gates, and finally he has seen the Lord. He has seen the Lord himself sitting on his golden throne, so effulgent, with so many gems on it, and the Lord in this wonderful form, yellow garments, Kastuba gem on his chest, and so on. And he was taken all in Gopakumar. So finally he faded. He could not just. He experienced such a, what can I say, such high energies that he could not stand it anymore, and he was actually fainting. So the Viconta Vasis tried to actually shake him up and help him to get back on his feet, but he took him a while before he really regained a consciousness. And he was shouting out, "Hey Gopal, hey Govinda," in the way he would normally actually worship the Lord. He forgot completely the instructions he received from Viconta Vasis, how to follow the etiquette and what kind of prayers he should do, So finally the Lord called him and said, "Hey boy, come closer, be quick." And the Lord expressed his joy that he was finally arriving. He said, welcome, my boy. I am so fortunate, most fortunate to meet you. For so long I have been eager to see you. My dear friend, you have passed many lifetimes without paying any attention to me at all. For so long, hope had made me dancing like a fool, thinking perhaps this lifetime, or this, or this, or this, he will finally turn this face towards me. And the Lord told him that finally I had to come myself as your guru and wake you up, so that now I have your association. So the Lord was so happy to see Gopakumar. And of course, in between, everybody tried again him that he would change his body, that he would be one of them, have the same body as the Lord, with 4 arms and so on. But Gopakumar was always actually trying to keep his form as a Gopa, or his form as a Gopa. He dressed as a Gopa, his form as a Gopa, you know. And he, of course, has seen all these energies the sloka today speaks about around the Lord, you know. He has seen Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, ready always to serve the Lord. He has seen some other devotees, you know, serving betel nut to the Lord, and so on. And all the devotees around actually ready to serve the Lord in so many ways, you know. So Gopakumar was staying there in Viconta for so much longer, but he never felt really happiness, you know. Something was always missing for him, you know. Thank you so much.
Better late than never.
Something was always missing for him, and so finally, when one day he was sort of apart in a little forest, Narada Muni appeared. And Narada Muni spoke to him about the actually appearances of the Lord, that all the forms are the Lord himself. There is no difference, you know. There may be another mood, but it's always the Lord himself. He's always the most powerful, the most beautiful, and so on. And it's a long part in Srimad Bhagavatamrita where Narada Muni tries to explain him that actually he should be happy in Viconta. What do you want more? So he was going through the different incarnations and showing him the power of the Lord and the mood of the Lord and so on in his different forms. But at the end, Narada Muni revealed him that actually the Lord sent him to actually give him some additional knowledge and reveal to him that subtly that he's maybe not in the right place, because he was always something missing, and he was always keeping his form as Gopa. So then the Lord was not present at this moment in Viconta. It says before that sometimes the Lord with some associates would leave, you know, and all the Viconta Vasis, they would have such hankering to have the association of the Lord again. They would wait until the Lord come back, and suddenly he would come back. But this time he was not there. So Narada Muni proposed actually Gopakumar, he should move on and he should go first to Ayodhya, and he instructed him about the prayers, the different rules he has to follow in Ayodhya, and then he should go to Dwaraka. So that was the instruction, and Gopakumar followed this, and of course it ends Bhagavatamrita that finally he arrives in Goloka Vrindaban. So as I said before, we hear all about these wonderful presentations, the forms of the Lord, the effulgence, these powerful devotees around the Lord, the service mood of the Lord, and so that our loliam, our eagerness really is deepening, so that we can make progress in our spiritual life and create this desire so deeply that end of life we can hopefully go back to Godhead. So as a summary, Viconta is unimaginable for ourselves, you know. Gopakumar says you cannot describe this. There are no words in the material world to describe really Viconta, you know. It's so beautiful, And of course, everything is on reverence there. So the Lord there, or the rasas there, are not the complete rasas. So we don't have Mother Yashoda there who takes care of Krishna. They are not the gopis there with these paramount rasas, you know. But the devotees are in full happiness, and they have the same form of the Lord, and they are serving. Only service is on top of their mind, you know. And there are different forms, even in Viconta. So they say they are equal, but at the same time they are variances. And it explained that based on the mood of the devotees, somebody may have 100 faces. No, it says 1,000 faces, or 3 eyes, or whatever. But at the same time they are equal because they're Satchidananda. But there is a difference based on the desire, on the mood of the individual devotee, you know. And as the sloka says, you know, all these energies or whatever is in the material world is actually a replica from the spiritual world. So all these energies we have here, our senses, we have heard, or the opulences, or the different elements, earth, water, fire, and so on, air, they are there in these energies as a person, and they are serving the Lord. And of course, all the other elements there, a tree or the bee or whatever it is, they are personalities, you know. And interesting enough, as maybe 2 slokas back, it was said that the devotees and the demons are worshipping the Lord in Viconta. Also in Bhagavatamrita, it says the demons and the devotees are worshipping the Lord and serving the Lord. So we would think that the demons, they become devotees, and they are just as all the other devotees. But there is even in Viconta a differentiation. Of course, they are pure devotees now, Satchidananda. But even there is a differentiation between the demons and the devotees. So thank you so much for your attention. Are there any questions, corrections, comments? Please, Prabhu.
I got 2 questions. Two questions I want to ask you. One, you said like their bodies are a little different based on their modes of.
Yeah.
So do those bodies change, or do they stay the same forever?
It says in Bhagavatamrita. I have to say, I read it so many years ago, and I only had a part which I read for this class again. It says that there are variances, and they can have variances when they are in Viconta too. So it's not just at the beginning. It seems that they can change their mood also when they are in Viconta, and therefore also their appearance can change. So it's important, it said different times that there is equality but differences, you know. So they're all equal, but they're different based on their mood and based on their desires.
So that can also change, like their appearance can change? Or?
Yeah, slightly, not that completely. You know, it's always, of course, these effulgence, but you know, they say some have different gems, as an example, you know. Or it said some have 8 arms. Or I said before, some have 3 eyes, so some have 1,000 faces. It does not say 1,000 heads, it says 1,000 faces. I cannot imagine how does it look like if somebody has 1,000 faces, but it does not say, specifically I was checking it, it does not say 1,000 heads. So they are these variations.
And you said there's demons and devotees. This is Krishna level, or?
This is Viconta. This is Viconta. So it was about two slokas back. I think Vrindaban Prabhu was given class. I will quickly see what was saying. It was on Sunday. Okay, I can just not find it, but it said there that in Viconta the devotees and the demons are serving the Lord, you know. And I found to find the same text again or the similar statement again in Bhagavatamrita, where it said, the demons and the devotees are serving the Lord, So my actually conclusion was that there is still this difference, Of course, they can only be in Viconta if they are pure devotees, And based on the desire as pure devotees, they are in Viconta where it's own reverence, and they are not in Goloka Vrindaban. But there is a differentiation. It does not say how this differentiation is, that somebody can see, he's a demon and actually he's a devotee, But that's what the scriptures say.
But in reality, you said that they're actually devotees, like playing a role of a demon like that? Because in Viconta, the demons that are worshiping Krishna, they're not really demons.
Yeah, of course. They're not demons anymore. But they have been demons before, Thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you for that class. I never heard that Maharaj Parikshit spoke Bhagavatam to Mother Uttara.
Bhagavatamrita.
Bhagavatamrita?
Yeah.
It's there?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It says Parikshit, Uttara approached him when Sukadev Goswami had finished the Bhagavatam and asked him for the essence of Bhagavatam. And then he spoke Bhagavatamrita.
Yeah, I guess there is a gap between his death and when Sukadev Goswami finished narrating Srimad Bhagavatam.
Can you say this again?
I thought that right when he finished narrating Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadev Goswami Maharaj Parikshit, he left his body and he got bitten by this snake, whatever.
I read it at the beginning of Bhagavatamrita. I was surprised myself, I have to say, but I read it there yesterday, that Uttara approached him then, and he said, actually, I should meditate, on the next step in what I have to do, leave the body. But then he said, as you're asking me as my mother, I will do that,
Thank you.
There was another question at the end.
Thank you, Prabhu. I came late to the class when we have explained this already. In the third or fourth sentence of the purport, Prabhupada mentioned that the Lord is also served by principles of ego. Can you explain that, please?
As I said before, that everything which is here is actually replica in a minor way what is actually over there. So if there is an ego and we have an ego here, and an ego, we have the false ego and we have an ego, so that exists as a personality, Like every river exists as a personality, The Himalayas exist as a personality. And, the elements of the earth, fire, ether, whatever we hear in the purport, they are personalities. So the ego is a personality as the mind. It's also mentioned the mind, So everything is a personality. So that's my understanding, I can say.
Thank you.
Prantura Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.